Hello, everybody, and welcome to my YouTube channel, Sutherland Sportscast. My name is Andrew Walker, and I'm 31 years old, and I am from Glasgow in Scotland. So, let me tell you a little bit about myself. When I was 5 years old, I was put on the autistic spectrum. I'm not going to go into kind of the challenges that has caused me, but I will instead talk about an opportunity that it gave me, which led to what I'm doing just now. So, a few years ago, I was living over in Edinburgh, and while that was happening, something revolutionary was happening amongst kind of the autistic community. A first in its kind in the world radio station called Sam Radio was invented. SAM stood for Scottish Autistic Media. And within Sam Radio, a football channel was created, or a football show, if you will. It was presented by my good friends Carl Levy and Douglas Horn, and I, along with another good friend of mine, Andrew Rogers, would regularly make guest appearances on this show. They have since, while they're still, presenting that show, they've now gone on to do their own YouTube channel slash podcasts, and I'll be more than happy to put links to their shows below. I'm happy to do that because, obviously they were the main inspiration for me, doing this and getting myself in front of the camera and embarrassing myself like this. So, however, where I differentiate from these guys is while football is kind of their main topic of conversation on a media platform, my interests are going to be a little more varied because I'm also, in addition to football, a fan of the American football variant, the NFL, and rugby union. And I will be taking on the gargantuan task of covering news and results and predictions and stuff from all three of those codes. Now, you're probably wondering, all this talk about sports and my story, where do my allegiances lie? Because I'm not really giving much away from either the attire or my surroundings. So, being from Glasgow, there's obviously two big football teams that dominate, the landscape, if you will, and sometimes that can have some heady, toxic connotations. Luckily, my dad's whole side of the family are from the northeast of the country, and my late granddad on his side was a season ticket holder at Pittodrie. So I went to a few games with him when I'd visit a couple of times a month, and it was a get out of Old Firm free card that I took gladly to become an Aberdeen fan. However, that wasn't kind of the only places my loyalties lay, because eventually I would move down to England when I was like 12, 13. And I figured I needed a Premier League team to support down there, and Newcastle United were the closest one to Scotland. And, they were just kind of on the up. This was at the time of Bobby Robson and to be giving Newcastle, the first beneficiaries of four teams in the Champions League. So that was a great ride. They're maybe not at the level they are now, but, they're still a team I have a great amount of affection for. Also kind of developed a soft spot for Arsenal too, just because of the way they played. I mean, they're not so good now, but under Wenger, they really were entertainers out of this world. That's pretty much all my football affiliations, other than, the Scotland national team, of course. Moving on to rugby, I grew up for the first 8 years of my life in the Scotstoun area of Glasgow, so I was literally a stone's throw away from the home stadium of the Glasgow Warriors, even though they wouldn't play there till later. So they were like the closest thing to a local team that I have, as well as obviously going to Murrayfield and seeing the Scotland national team there too. Now, as far as where my American football allegiance lies, that's a more kind of that path took more kind of twists and turns, because it's always something that was on in the background on Sunday nights, and kind of took me a while to figure out who to support. But one Thursday night I watched the much maligned Mitchell Trubisky tear apart the Dallas Cowboys, and that night I fell in love with the Chicago Bears. That became a love-hate relationship, but I was rewarded on draft night this year. So that was good fun. But the reason, I'm starting up this Sportscast now. It's been an idea that's been popping around in my head for a few months, and only a few people have really known about it. But it's time to get down to work because it's going to be a busy summer. We have got the British and Irish Lions in rugby coming up. We have the Euros, Euro 2020, 1 year late, and Scotland's first qualification for any tournament in 23 years. And in addition to that, we'll have kind of like reviews of the season and previews for next season in all the sports I've mentioned. So I've got a lot of work to do this summer, and I hope you guys come along for the ride. So whether you've just been listening or you've been watching too, I'm going to peace out, say I've been Andrew Walker, and thanks for stopping by.